everyone who is joining us. We appreciate your patience allowing us to get all of these technical things straightened out. Get a couple people admitted. So first off, good afternoon. I'm Linnell Feldman. I'm the president of the local chapter of the League of Women Voters. It's good to see everyone on my screen. A little etiquette. We are going to have the chat open. We do ask that if you have questions for our guest speaker today, that you put them in the chat and that we be respectful of her and each other as far as the number of questions and the time that we take up. And not unmute unless we get to a point where we feel like we can unmute so we're not talking over each other. So first off, I'm really happy to see on my screen, I'm Vicky Oakes, the Supervisor of Elections down in St. Johns County. I see a number of people on my screen who are from St. Johns County, so you probably know her quite well. She tends to run what many of us consider to be the gold standard of elections here in the Northeast Florida area. So we appreciate her making time for us today. So Supervisor Oakes has been the elections office there since March 1988, serving as the Assistant Supervisor of Elections for 20 years. I imagine that time has gone by fast. She was appointed Supervisor of Elections by Governor Rick Scott on September 6, 2011. And then she was elected in 2012, 16, and 2020 to serve as Supervisor of Elections. She is fully committed to conducting safe, secure, and accurate elections from St. Johns County, and we appreciate her making time for us today. So having said that, Ms. Oakes, I'm going to turn the Zoom floor over to you.
Great. Well, thank you, Linnell. It's good to be with you all today. And if you'll, can I share my screen now? Can you hear me? All right, do I just click that way?
Yep.
Huh? There we go. I think we're ready to go. Can you see my screen, Linnell?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. Well, welcome everybody. As you know, we are deep into it, getting ready for our November 8th general election. And with that, I'm going to jump right in. So since you all at the League are very aware of things that are going on, just a quick reminder about our voting districts that have changed this year. And specifically what our voting districts are. I do get a lot of questions about this. People just don't seem to understand about why races appear on their ballots. Well, our voting districts are specific to who represent us, and that's in Congress, in Tallahassee at our county level, and every single district is based on our street address, and that dictates what the races that appear on your ballot, not only who represents you, but who you get to vote for as well. Just a little reminder, too, about the redistricting process, which I know you all are very aware of, that happens every 10 years, is tied to the census. And we went through the census in 2020, the redistricting process in 2021. And now, my goodness, St. Johns County moving forward has some new congressional districts. And our Florida Senate District 7 remains the same. However, our boundaries did change for that. We picked up Putnam County now, in addition to St. John's Flagler and a portion of Volusia. If you live in the north section of St. Johns County, as far as your congressional district, you are in Congressional District 5. If you're in the south end of the county, you are in 6. And then we have new Florida House districts that are already into effect. For those of you that participated in the primary election, I happen to live in House District 20 and had that House race on my ballot in the primary. And then County Commission and School Board districts, those lines have changed too. Those were adopted by our board and became effective in December 21. What that caused was a big effect for St. Johns County. Of course, we know it all has to do with growth and equaling out our districts at every level to provide the one person, one vote idea, so that a vote in Northwest Florida came and actually carries the same weight as a vote, say, in Northeast Florida or in South Florida. So we do have our new districts. We have brand new precincts in St. Johns County. And now, moving ahead for our elections, we had new voting districts, some new precinct lines, because our office had to adapt our precinct lines and change them to match the new county commission and school board district lines. And so we have some new precinct lines and some new polling places. The great thing about it is we added some precincts and then some additional polling places in the areas, especially that we've seen a lot of growth. We did follow up and mail two things. The first thing was our Citizens Guide to Registering and Voting. And Linnell, I know that you and I have talked about that, and you've seen that, and that went to every residential mailbox in St. Johns County to alert voters. That was back in June, to alert voters of the changes and to look for their new cards. And then around the first part of July, every registered voter in St. Johns County was mailed a new voter information card, letting them know their new districts, their new precincts, and their new polling places. So that really helped us also update our voter rolls, because all of our mail is marked return service requested and is not forwardable. So when we get those little yellow stickies back from the post office, we can actually take action. If a voter moves within the county, we can move them to their new precinct and then send them a new voter card. The same in St. Johns County if they have moved, say, to Duval County. We can send that voter over to Duval. Duval will pick them up, update their address, and send them a new voter card. So when it's time to vote, they'll know their election day precinct. And then if we do get those stickies with out-of-state address notifications, then following the election, when we begin our list maintenance process again, we'll send those voters a notice requesting they update their information. One thing that I do want to mention that you see highlighted in yellow on your screen now, any returned first-class mail sent by this office, if it is returned as undeliverable or with a different address, that automatically cancels any vote by mail request on file that a voter has. So if they have moved, it is the responsibility of the voters to follow up with us on their vote by mail ballots. So I'll talk a little bit about the August primary election. For St. Johns County, I was a little disappointed, I might admit, about the turnout. I was actually a lot disappointed at the turnout because we started mailing our vote by mail ballots out in July 19 with our large domestic run, and I was just surprised at the low return that we had on those vote by mail ballots. We only had a 40% return. And usually with an election, once we put ballots in the mail, people vote them and send them back. They do. And we just weren't seeing that with this election. And so I was a bit disappointed about that. And then once early voting opened up with our locations we had around town, we just weren't seeing the early voting turnout that I had hoped for, you know, because we sent, Linnell, our ballots, our sample ballots that we send to our voters in St. Johns County are a little different than the ones that Duval's receive. Ours are voter specific, and they're actually a copy of the actual ballot that you receive when you go to vote. I like doing that rather than just a large generic ballot, because sometimes it gets a bit confusing. So that's why I like to do that. Even though we sent sample ballots to all of our voters, we still only had And, you know, we had a good part, almost a little over 29,000 voters actually go to their precincts on election day. And of course, you know, we had some very, very happy voters that I was out visiting our new polling places on election day. Some of our voters were very happy with the new locations being, we've gone to using several community centers like Julington Creek Plantation, Rivertown, the Beach Walk one, and people are now have locations right within their communities where they can vote. They were very happy about that. But of course, you know, you run across the people too that they're not happy that their precinct has moved. So, you know, I get comments both ways, and you know, we can't keep everybody happy, but we try to do our best. And as you all know, we actually had some very, very close races in our primary. I'm not sure what happened with my screen here. Just a second. So I'm not sure what happened in the primary because we did have some close races. I'm going to stop my sharing here for just a minute to see if I can correct that. But what was really sad to me about our election with the close races were that in the 2 days, and some of you all follow our posts and our social media, some of our vote by mail ballots in the 2 days following the election, we had 574 that came in late. The day after the election on the 24th, our postman brought a tray and a half of mail, and then the next day he brought another almost full tray. So in 2 days, we received 574 vote by mail ballots in the mail that could not be counted because they were late. And that makes me very sad. It makes me very sad because, you know, when you have close races like our county commission race that was actually 175 vote difference, could those ballots have made a difference? They very well could have, but we're never going to know because those ballots have to be marked as received too late to count, and they're never going to be opened. But one thing we did, and we're still continuing to do, is we're still getting vote by mail ballots in the mail. We still are. And so what we do is we drop a letter to our voters in the mail that says, by the way, we received your ballot late. And Linnell, I went and looked through the ballots from the first 2 days, and for the most part, the ballots were postmarked either the day before the election or election day. So what's happening is people are waiting until election day to mail their ballots. That is a big problem. And I'm happy it's stuck here for some reason. I'm going to ask for a little technical help to try to get my screen back where it is. So that makes me very sad because at some points voters have a responsibility. Hopefully they will do a little bit better with the next election since we've alerted them to the fact that they do have to get their ballots back to us on time in order to be counted, and that deadline is election day at 7 p.m.
Ms. Oaks, while Wayne troubleshoots your technical side of the house there, do you mind if I just pose a couple of basic questions?
Nope, go right ahead because I can't see the questions.
Okay.
So go right ahead.
So last election cycle, you talked about the amount of money that it cost you to put the return postage on those vote by mail envelopes that went out. And so here you've made a huge investment again. So I'm not sure what the cost of that was to your budget or to the taxpayer to be able to do that. But also about the vote by mails being returned the day after or being dropped in the mailbox the day before. Do you think there might be some confusion on behalf of voters that they have until the day after the election to cure a vote by mail ballot as opposed to when they actually have to have the vote by mail ballot into the Supervisor of Elections office?
Well, the cures are very, very specific, Linnell. If you mail in your vote by mail ballot and you didn't sign it or your signature does not match, in that case, we reach out to that voter individually. If we have a telephone number, we call them. If we have a email address, we email them. If we have a ballot mailing, and of course we send the letter and the affidavit also to the person's ballot mailing address.